Morning, boys. So, on Wednesday we had this problem, the three neighbors problem. I'll just read it out quickly for you again to refresh your memory. So, take three numbers that are next door neighbors. When you count, these are called consecutive numbers. Add them together. What do you notice? Take another three consecutive numbers and add them together. What do you notice? Can you prove that this is always true by looking carefully at one of your examples? So I just put two examples down here, 6, 7 and 9, or adding 7 plus 8 plus 9. So I had some great responses to this from Ben, Eric, Tyrell. I'm definitely forgetting someone as well, but some great responses. So this is the solution to the problem, boys. So what really mattered, boys, was the number of odd numbers in your consecutive numbers. So if we added three numbers that were beside each other and two of them were odd, like 9, 10 and 11, or 13, 14 and 15, we noticed that the answer is always even. And some of you showed this in your examples that you gave. If we picked three numbers and we started with an even number, like 10 and then 11 and 12, so we have an even, odd and an even. So the two evens added together are always even, but when we add another odd, boys, that means we're going to get an odd as an outcome. So the sum of the three numbers, if there's two evens and one odd, were always odd. The sum of the numbers, if there's two odds and one even, was always even, boys. Okay, so we're going to build on that today. Well done to the boys who copped on to that. Um, it's tough to see when you can't kind of visualize it like that. So today what we're going to looking at is something very similar, boys. We are learning to investigate the sums of 2, 3, 4 and 5 odd numbers. So we're only looking at odd numbers today, boys. We're going to add 2 together. We're going to add 3 odd numbers, 4 odd numbers and 5 odd numbers. We're going to look and see, we are learning to predict the pattern in the sums of these numbers. Predict the pattern in the sum of these numbers. No, I just made a mistake there. We'll fix that. Okay, and the third thing we're going to do is we're going to explain our answer. So this one's going to be quite short today, boys. So let's get to it. Okay, so I've just done out a few examples here. I've added two odd numbers together here, three odd numbers together on the bottom left, four odd numbers together on the top right, and five odd numbers on the bottom right. Okay, so let's look at the two odds first up in the top left corner. So we see if we add two odd numbers like 7 and 9 and 11 and 13, we always get an even answer. Okay, that is because if we look at the 7 and 9 for an example, so we know that 1 less than 7, 6 is an even number, 1 less than 9, 8 is an even number, and then you have 1 left over. And if you added the extra 1 from 7 and the extra 1 from 9, you're going to get 2. So adding an even, an even, and an even, like 6 plus 8 plus 2 is always going to be an even number. So you could change that sum to 6 plus 8 plus 2, and you get the same answer. Okay, and it's the exact same case for the bottom here. Okay, so two odd numbers always give an even number, and what I'm going to ask you to do in your worksheet is to give another example of two odd numbers giving an even number. Okay, next example we're going to look at what happens when you add three odd numbers. Okay, so the examples I have here are 1 plus 3 plus 5 equals 9. Let's have a sip of tea. Okay, so we can see the three odd numbers here always equal an odd number. That's because 2, like we looked at in our three neighbors, boys, when we had the odd number of odds. So when we had one odd number, we never got an even answer. Here we have three odds. So if we add two of the odd numbers, like 1 and 3, we get an even number. Actually, we get 4. But then we have to add on an odd number, which is going to make our answer odd. So an even plus an odd, like we did on the very first day, is always an odd. And that's the same for the bottom example here. 3 plus 5 is 8. So we have an even number. Plus 7 is 15. But we're adding an odd onto that even number. So we always get an odd answer. And in our Word document, I'm going to ask you to do one more example of adding three odd numbers, boys. Okay? So now we have four odd numbers in the top right corner. And we see if we add 1 and 3 and 5 and 7, we get 16. Okay? Because two odds, if we break up the sum into, if we have it down the middle, 1 plus 3 Two odd numbers always equal and even, so 1 plus 3 is 4. And then we look at the other side. 5 plus 7 is 12, so that's an even number as well. So 4 plus 12, an even plus an even is always going to equal an even. So the odd numbers turn into even numbers, boys, okay? Similarly, on the bottom, we have slightly bigger numbers here. We have 21 plus 23 plus 25 plus 27. If we add them together, two odd numbers at a time, split it in half. 21 plus 23 is 44, so that's an even number. 25 plus 27 is 52, so that's another even number. 52 plus 44 is 96, boys. So if you add four odd numbers, you get an even number. Okay, and the final box before I stop recording, if we add five odd numbers together. So if we look back to our four odds, when we added the four odds, we got an even number. So we know if we added four odd numbers, we get an even number, but we have to add an extra odd. Okay, so that extra odd is going to kind of mess things up. So when we add that extra odd on, so we have five odd numbers here, we get an odd number. Okay, and similar story on the bottom. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to give you a worksheet to give me one more example of each, and try and see, do you see a pattern? Does the matter of odd numbers matter? And if it does, can you try and explain to me why it might matter? Okay, stay safe, stay happy, boys. I hope you have a good weekend.